Welcome back, Stuart. Good to have you back in the Uncommon Sense podcast studio today. Thank you for joining me.
Good to see you again, Suze.
So today we're going to talk about 8D. Now I know I'm playing around with this 8D or not to 8D, so I'm trying to make this more theatrical. But really, the point of this is to talk about when is 8D the right approach to problem solving. So, shall we begin with what is 8D? For anyone who just wants a quick level reminder, if you can just do a quick reminder.
Yes, for sure. So there will be lots of people that have encountered 8D in their careers and many that won't as well. So yeah, 8D stands for 8 disciplines, which probably still doesn't help very much. So 8 disciplines, it's a team-oriented problem-solving methodology, which is very much focused on getting to root cause of problems and putting them to bed properly rather than just responding to symptoms and sort of making do. So the steps, of which there are actually 9, although it's called 8D, so that's a little confusing because there is also a D0, discipline 0, which is all about containing the problem, protecting the customer, acting urgently to make sure that we limit the damage that the problem is creating, if you like. We have D1, which is forming a team. So we're putting together a number of people that are going to work on the problem, that are representing the different aspects of the process, the business, wherever we are. D2 is about describing the problem. So we're really clear on what it is we're working on. D3 is then containing the problem, which is building on what we may have done at D0 to prevent this thing reaching the customer and sort of limit the damage. We might have learned a little bit more now. We might be able to put a slightly better containment in place, which is more economical or more effective to again protect the customer, protect the business, and while we're working on the problem. D4 is then where the real depth of activity comes in terms of identifying the root cause of a problem. Now, engineers and people at large love to get straight into identifying root cause and coming up with, I know what the problem is. It's this, it's that, it's the other. Well, 8D doesn't quite allow us to just jump in and come straight to that point. We work through a lot of very deliberate activity to gain facts, data, measurement, information, capture what the customer has told us in their words, these things, so that we don't just jump into the root cause piece of the activity. But this is what D4 is about, is root cause investigation. D5 is then coming up with corrective actions. So the other bit we all love to do is coming up with solutions. D6 then moves into exactly.
Fixing things. That's what improvement's all about, isn't it?
It is. D6 then moves us into implementing those solutions and, very importantly, validating that they're effective. So we don't just make changes and assume they've been effective. We make sure that we confirm that with good data before allowing ourselves to think about moving on. D7 is a very important step, which often is forgotten about, which is preventing recurrence. So once we've learned about a problem and the cause that led to it and the solution to stop it from happening in this particular instance, let's make sure it doesn't happen again on the next product we develop or the next process we implement or the next service we offer. Let's make sure we don't make that same mistake again. And then D8, which is sometimes called buying cakes and coffee, is somewhat, if you take it slightly more seriously, it's about celebrating team achievements, successes. What can we learn from it more widely? What can we apply elsewhere in our business, within the system, somewhere else? What learning can we gather that helps us do things better again next time? But the cakes and coffee is about the fact that it should also be seen as a bit of a thank you and a celebration, a pat on the back, an encouragement for the team for the good work that they've done. So that's 8D. And sorry, Susan, just the last thing on it is that it comes from Ford Motor Company, which is where I was born in terms of my career. So 8D is something that's been with me since the start of my career, and I'm obviously a big advocate of and have the benefit of learning all about it from the company that created it. So it's a big thing for me.
Of course, and I know because early doors, when at certain point I was talking to somebody about 8D, and I was naive enough, uninformed enough not to understand that it was a fits all, and that actually 8D could potentially be used in any problem solving. And I know that I was advised I needed to come and talk to you, and you put me straight on that, helpfully so. So that's why we're talking as well about this, because it isn't for everything, is it? So it isn't once you've got 8D, you can solve any problem. And I think that nuance is really helpful for us to understand.
It is, and I could talk for a long time about 8D, and I know we've only got sort of 12 or 15 minutes, but I want to illustrate the thinking, if you like, using the example of being a pizza restaurateur, which is a scenario we use in a lot of our training. So we like pizza in PMI. So I'm going to use that setting. So if I was setting up a new pizza restaurant, and as part of that, I was working through my ingredients for my pizza bases and the method of how I'm mixing the dough and rolling it out and creating the pizzas, how I'm cooking them in the oven, for what temperature, for how long, the fuel I'm using. Now, all of these things I could be experimenting with to create good pizzas. So during that period, I shouldn't be surprised that some of the pizzas I produce are going to be better than others. Some of them might be spectacularly good. Some of them might be not so good. Some might be really not sellable. And in that period, you're going to learn a lot about a good pizza in terms of all of the the elements that go into it, the ingredients, the methods, the cooking, all of those things. You're going to start to figure out a good process for making good pizza. But during that period, if on only one occasion you produce a bad pizza, that's all right, isn't it? It's part of the learning, the development of your process, your pizza making process, to produce bad ones. That's how you learn, right? So from that development, we'll start to refine our understanding and get to a point where hopefully we can produce every pizza, which is really, really good. The variation hopefully will be minimal. We'll have lots of happy customers with pizzas that look very similar coming out of the pizza oven every single time. Everyone goes home happy. But during that period, when things go wrong, they don't get a good pizza. That's okay. It's just part of the learning to develop the process to where it needs to be. So we're not talking about problem solving. We're not talking about 8D. We're still working on the design of the product, the process, the service, to get it to where it should be. So that's sort of scenario one. Scenario two is I may have got to the point where I'm producing good pizza every day. I've got happy customers. But then I produce a batch of pizzas that come out at the end. I've got them on the pass ready to take to the customer. I look at them, I'm going, what is this? They've all got really badly burnt crusts. And so, well, how's that happened? That wasn't happening yesterday. It's happening now. What on earth has happened? And I might very quickly respond and go into the kitchen and talk to the chef and look what's going on. We might walk the process, and we might see as we go through the process, when we get to the oven, well, why is the oven running at 50 degrees hotter than it normally runs at? Now, I might not know why it's that high, what's led it to be that high, but I know I can react straight away and reduce the temperature of the oven, get it back to where it should be, and start making good pizzas again. So again, I'm not going to start a big problem solving methodology, bring a team together and go through all the steps. I know what the problem is today. The oven temperature is not set correctly, so let's change it. Let's just do it, is the terminology that gets used. And I guess it's not quite as simple as that, because maybe at the end of shift, when everybody's clearing up and we're looking to close the restaurant down for the night, we might have a bit of a wash up that says, does anybody have an idea of how the pizza was at a temperature that it shouldn't have been? Can we think of how that might have happened and how we might prevent it happening again? So hopefully we learn and improve our control system, our training, our checks, or whatever it is, so that it doesn't happen again. But I didn't need to do a big problem solving process, right? It was fairly clear what to do in the moment to respond to the problem that we were looking at. So that's scenario two, really. It's the just do it approach to problem solving when you know what the cause is. Scenario three is really what 8D is about, which is I might be running my pizza business for days, for weeks, for months even, and things are running really smoothly. Very few customer complaints. Everybody's, you know, happy in the kitchen. We haven't got lots of waste. We haven't got lots of rework or whatever. The business is running really smoothly. But then maybe one day out of the blue, although everything's been lovely and clear blue skies before it, we start producing really bad pizzas. The customers are complaining about the taste, or they're complaining about the crust being really crunchy and it's meant to be soft and doughy and airy, and it's not.
Soggy
Well,
bottoms.
soggy bottoms. Don't get me started on soggy bottoms and buttery biscuit bases. But how's this happened? Everything was fine yesterday and for the weeks and months that preceded. So what has changed today? And for those in the world of manufacturing production that might be familiar with statistical process control charts and things, this is what we would talk about as assignable cause or special cause variation that we see on the run charts. So, for all the days, weeks, months preceding, things have just been bumping along nice and steady on the control chart. It's in control. Everything looks good. But then today, all hell's broken loose. Things are not what they've always been. Something's changed. So this is what 8D is about. So 8D is a set of disciplines, so working through the 8Ds that we talked about. But there are some tools in there, so things like 5Y, is not, comparative analysis, sorry, I can't say that, comparative analysis, hypothesis testing, and they're all based on hard facts. So 8D is not really a creative process. There is a degree of it when it comes to looking for root cause, and we might use things like Ishikawa diagrams and things. But the backbone of 8D is all based around facts and data and looking for clues about something that might have changed or is different from how it used to be, or what's true of a bad part or a bad process or a bad service compared with a bad one. It's all data driven facts. So when you have a problem where something has changed, Monday was fine, Tuesday is not. 8D is like a bloodhound sniffing out, well, what is it that's changed? And how did that cause the problem you've got?
Hmm.
And that's the distinction, I guess, between
Yes.
this scenario and the ones that have gone prior.
Yes. And so there's that distinction in that scenario, and there's also the distinction that this is not about improvement. There's a distinction between problem solving and improvement. You've got a good
Yeah.
process, well documented, in control, and so on. And it's when it goes wrong that you now need to problem solve.
Yes, that's it. 8D is very much about returning back to where you were. Yeah, whereas if you don't like where you were and you want to be somewhere better, well, you need to do process improvement.
Yes.
Six Sigma, design for Six Sigma, lean process improvement, that kind of tool set. 8D is about, oh, we're not as good as we were. I want to get back there. Let's figure out what's happened, what's gone wrong. And the tools in 8D are fantastic at finding those for you if you just diligently follow the crumb of data and facts rather than opinion and shooting from
Ideas.
the hip like sometimes it goes on. Yeah,
Okay. Fab. Brilliant. So that's really clear. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today.
no problem. Glad to talk.